On a cold winter's night, in the dim, solitary confines of my small basement apartment on the Bronx border, I made a decision that would alter my life forever. The bag of fentanyl sat in my hand, and I prepared the shot without hesitation. The world outside was silent, the air with the heavy weight of despair that had followed me for years. With trembling hands, I injected the poison into my veins, oblivious to the line I was about to cross. Thank God my friend was there that night. The moment the drug hit my bloodstream, I collapsed onto the cold, unforgiving bathroom floor. My body betrayed me as I spiraled into the abyss. My friend dialed 911, his voice trembling with panic, but by then, I was already gone, plunged into a terrifying realm beyond comprehension. This is a true story. I fell into darkness, a void so absolute it felt endless. It was not the gentle drift of sleep, but a violent pull into something far more sinister. Minutes felt like hours as I descended deeper, and when I finally stopped, I found myself in a place that defied reason, a cold, damp room with no lights, no ceiling, no light. Yet somehow I could see. The ground beneath me was harsh, unyielding, offering no solace. The first thing I noticed was that I couldn't breathe. I gasped desperately for air, my chest heaving in vain. Panic gripped me, each failed attempt to fill my lungs, sending shockwaves of terror through my mind. I wasn't dying, I had already died. I was trapped in a state of perpetual suffocation, a horrifying realization that sent my thoughts into a chaotic spiral. I tried to move, but my body refused to obey. My arms were outstretched, my body paralyzed, and all I could do was dart my eyes around the oppressive void. The helplessness was absolute. I was a prisoner in my own flesh, unable to escape the torment of my mind. The panic was relentless, a storm of fear and regret that consumed every part of me. Time ceased to exist. Seconds felt like hours, hours felt like days. The realization began to dawn on me. I wasn't in a dream or hallucination. This was something far more worse. The thought came to me to cry out for God, to beg for mercy, but I instinctively knew the truth. He wasn't there. I had separated myself from him. I was in hell. The weight of that understanding crushed me. I had spent my life hardening my heart, numbing my soul with substances, turning my back on faith, and now I was reaping the consequences as I lay there, paralyzed and gasping. Something began to pull on me. I was dragged into another room, darker and colder than the last. This cycle repeated endlessly. Each room was more worse than the other before. Each moment more suffocating, more terrifying. I lost all sense of time, all sense of self. Had it been hours, days, years, time had no meaning in that place. I was left alone with one unbearable thought. You did this, you chose this. This is what separation from God feels like. Then suddenly I woke up. I was in the ICU at Lawrence Hospital, a breathing tube down my throat and a catheter in my genitals. My body felt broken, every nerve screaming in protest. I looked over at the nurse who instructed me to cough as hard as I could while she removed the tube from my throat. I had inhaled my own vomit. The pain was indescribable, but it was nothing compared to the horror of where I had just been. As the tube was pulled from my throat and the catheter removed, I sat there in shock, replaying the events in my mind. Was it a dream, a vision, a near-death experience? I had always heard stories of people seeing a white light, of feeling peace as their bodies released natural DMT, creating euphoric, psychedelic experiences. But that wasn't my story. My journey was the opposite: cold, dark, and devoid of hope. Later, I spoke to my friend. He told me that the paramedics had given me 8 shots of Narcan to revive me. 2 teams of EMTs had arrived, arguing over what other drugs I might have taken because I was completely unresponsive. As they loaded me onto the gurney, I had died. Now, you'd think that that experience would have been enough to wake me up, to drive me to sobriety, but it wasn't. Despite the horrors I had faced, it still took me another 2 years of self-destruction to finally say, enough. Looking back, I realize now that God was showing me something that night. He was showing me the reality of the separation from Him in a place where love, light, and hope cannot exist. It was cold, dark, and unrelenting. It was a place of utter loneliness, the antithesis of everything God represents. Today, I am grateful beyond words. God has given me a life filled with love, joy, purpose, and peace, a life I will never trade again for a bottle, a pill, or a needle. I don't share this story to scare anyone or to preach, but to remind myself and others of the grace we are offered every single day. Now, if you're struggling, know this: there is a way out. There is hope, there is love, and there is light. So stay strong, stay grateful, and never stop fighting for the life that you deserve. Merry Christmas, and may you find peace and gratitude in every moment.